Deng Majek, he's been sentenced to 29 years in prison as a minimum for murdering Rhiannon Whyte in October last year.
The Sudanese asylum seeker, illegal migrant actually, attacked Rhiannon with a screwdriver on a train platform in Warsaw after she had finished work at the hotel where he was staying at your expense.
Well, our national reporter Jack Carson has been looking back at the case, and here's a warning that this story does contain distressing content.
This is the moment police arrested Deng Majek in his hotel room after he'd attacked a young mother waiting for her train home. Rhiannon Whyte died from her injuries 3 days later. Deng Majek, a Sudanese asylum seeker, had been staying at the Park Inn hotel where Rhiannon worked, cleaning and serving food. On the 20th of October 2024, CCTV shows Majek staring at Rhiannon when she was handing out snacks. During the trial, a witness told Wolverhampton Crown Court they felt scared and worried he was going to do something that night. They even informed the hotel's security staff they all felt intimidated. After Rhiannon's shift ended at 11 p.m, she walked across the road to the Bescot train station. Unbeknown to her, Majek had waited outside in the car park and started to follow. Wearing what the prosecution described as distinctive clothing, he gradually got closer. He walks up the steps to the station. Seconds later, he attacks Rhiannon on the train platform. She sustained more than 20 stab wounds and died 3 days later from a brainstem injury. Majek is seen on CCTV leaving the train station. He throws Rhiannon's phone into the river, walks to a shop to buy alcohol and returns to the hotel. Detective Chief Inspector Paul Atwell from the British Transport Police called it a cowardly attack.
It was a brutal, cowardly and unprovoked attack on a vibrant, selfless young woman who had her whole life ahead of her. He has appeared completely unbothered, bored even, throughout this trial, much to the distress of Rhiannon's poor family.
As the emergency services arrived, footage recovered by police shows the Sudanese asylum seeker laughing and dancing to music in the hotel car park. The prosecution told the jury Majek was clearly excited by what he had done. Forensic scientists found Rhiannon's blood on Majek's jacket, trousers, shoes and jewellery. DNA recovered from swabs of his fingernails were also a match for Ms Whyte. Jurors at Wolverhampton Crown Court deliberated for just 2 hours and 5 minutes before reaching a unanimous guilty verdict. Speaking outside court, Rhiannon's sister Alex said they'd seen no remorse from Majek.
There is no end to the pain or suffering we have had to endure or continue to experience. On that horrific day, our precious Rhiannon was shown no mercy. Throughout this trial, we have been given no reason as to why he chose Rhiannon, no accountability for his actions, and no remorse. She fought for her life and to save herself from this sick, twisted, and cowardly human.
Rhiannon Whyte was a mother, an auntie, a sister, and a daughter whose life was taken in the most horrific way. Jack Carson, GB News.
Just terrible. Just really, really terrible. Let's speak now to Jack Carson, who's been following this case and is outside Coventry Crown Court for us. Jack, the most astonishing news.
The most astonishing news, the most horrific case. You can only imagine the emotion in the courtroom as that sentence of life with a minimum term of 29 years was handed down. Of course, Majek has been in custody now for well over 400 days. That sentence will now be reduced to the minimum term he'll serve to just over 27 years. 27 years, 264 days, because before, of course, he is eligible to be released on licence. But given the nature of this attack, given how the judge himself, Mr. Justice Saul, called this an attack of frenzied brutality, it is highly unlikely that Deng Majek will ever see the light of day again. And we heard in the victim impact statements from both Rhiannon Whyte's mother, Donna, but her sister Alex, who of course you heard a little bit of there when she spoke after the verdict last year at the verdict, you know, just how much of an impact this case has had on them. Donna Whyte told the court today, she said, my statement is simple and uncomplicated because it's impossible to explain the pain I'm feeling. She said she was my best friend. I loved her. Now, because of this inexplicable, cruel action, we must face life without her. She asked as did Alex, as did the court, of course. Why? Because Deng Majek has not given any sign of remorse, given any sign of exactly why Rhiannon Whyte was his chosen victim. In her summing up at the sentencing hearing today, Michelle Healy-Casey, who was the prosecutor in this case, said that it was Deng Majek looking for the most vulnerable person he could during the day. We saw in the CCTV that you would have seen just moments ago how he was staring at Rhiannon while she was on her shift working in that hotel, handing out snacks to people as they stayed in that hotel, the Park-In Asylum Hotel just in Bescott in Walsall. He was staring at her throughout the day, targeted her, preyed, and as Alex said in her statement, stalked and hunted her as she then went onto the train platform awaiting for her train home. She was found by the guards on that train that she should have got to go home. She leaves behind, of course, such a large family and her son, who is now being looked after by her sister Alex. She mentioned in her victim impact statement how her son has said repeatedly since, of course, having to try and come to terms with trying to understand how his mother is never going to come back to hold him again, how he wants to be a brain surgeon to try and, of course, stop things like this happening here, to try and help people like Rhiannon, who, of course, we know died from a brainstem injury just days after Majek attacked him on that train platform. It was, as I said, the judge called it an attack of frenzied brutality. She was stabbed 23 times with a screwdriver, and there are more details around the brutality of that attack, which of course are too strong to share, but addressing in quite a powerful victim impact statement, her sister Alex directly addressed Majek as he sat there in the dock with his translator, saying to Deng Majek, "Rhiannon showed so much more courage than you. You continue to show no remorse and to take no responsibility for your cowardly actions." She said, "You took advantage of our judicial system with your blatant ignorance and arrogance, subjecting my family to painfully detailed witness statements which reduced Rhiannon to being spoken as evidence rather than the beautiful human she was." She said that Majek himself was inhuman.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with that assessment. Jack, thanks indeed for being there for us. I know there's a press conference that you've got to rush to, and we'll be bringing that to us live as it happens outside the court. I do think it's worth saying something that the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, has just put out on social media. Chris Philp says, given the timing of his illegal arrival, this man would have been eligible for deportation to Rwanda. But Labour cancelled the plan and put him in a hotel instead of deporting him.
Yeah.
That, of course, is the Conservative response to what has gone on. We'll bring you the government line as and when we get it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm going to ask, do our politicians actually have blood on their hands?